Monroe was tired. He had been stranded on Tertalis Prime for nearly 3 days now. His ship had broken down unexpectedly, and the repairs were taking longer than he had expected. The planet was a strange place, bustling with countless alien species he had never seen before. It was nothing like Earth. The atmosphere was thick, the air smelled like burning metal, and the sky was a deep purple color that seemed to shimmer with stars, even in the daylight. John's stomach growled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten in hours, but it wasn't hunger that troubled him most. It was the burning thirst that he felt in his throat. He needed water. The dehydration was starting to make him dizzy. He couldn't focus on anything for too long without feeling lightheaded, and the heat of the planet made it worse. His uniform stuck to his skin with sweat, and he could feel every step of the walk as he searched for a place to get some water. The marketplace was large, stretching for miles in every direction. There were aliens of all shapes and sizes selling goods, from glowing crystals to strange metals that hummed in the air. Everywhere he looked, there was something new, something he had never seen before. Creatures with tentacles, creatures with multiple eyes, and creatures that didn't look like anything he could have imagined. John stumbled through the crowd, carefully dodging the aliens who seemed to move in all directions at once. His eyes scanned the stands for something familiar, anything that could help him. Finally, he spotted it, a small stand near the corner of the marketplace, with a sign that had a strange symbol on it, but underneath it read in clear human script, "Water for sale." His heart gave a small leap. There was hope after all. John walked over to the stand, his dry lips cracking with every step. He was eager to get some water, but the moment he arrived at the counter, something strange happened. The alien standing behind the booth was unlike anything John had ever seen before. It was tall, easily twice his height, with a chitinous exoskeleton that shimmered in the light. Its face was mostly hidden beneath a series of strange, bulbous eyes, and it had no mouth. Instead, a soft hum seemed to come from deep within its body, a sound that John could feel in his chest. The alien greeted him with a voice that didn't come from its mouth. Instead, the words appeared directly in John's mind, clear and strong. "Water, you seek," it said, the voice a mix of curiosity and something darker, something ancient. John blinked, unsure how to respond at first. He'd heard of telepathic species before, but this was the first time he'd encountered one in person. The words seemed to echo inside his skull, a strange feeling he wasn't used to. But the most surprising part was the next part of the message. "What if I offered you something more?" The alien's voice softened, almost coaxing. "Something better than water, something that will change everything." John paused, wiping his brow as he tried to make sense of what he had just heard. He wasn't sure if it was the heat or the thirst making him hallucinate, but the alien was offering him something else. Not just water, but something more. He looked at the alien's eyes, which glowed faintly as if it were waiting for his response. Was this some kind of trick? John thought about the stories he had heard of other travelers being lured into making dangerous deals with unknown beings. He needed water, but was it worth taking a chance on something that seemed too good to be true? The alien slid a small, glowing vial across the counter. The liquid inside seemed to shift and shimmer like it had a life of its own. The moment John's eyes locked on it, he felt a strange pull, as though it were calling to him, tempting him. "One drop," the alien continued, "and you will feel it. Your thirst will be gone. But more than that, you will understand. You will see the world differently. You will see everything differently. You, human, are unlike the others here. Your kind is capable of greatness." John's throat tightened at the words. He didn't know what to make of it. The alien's offer was both inviting and unsettling. He had traveled to many different worlds in his time as a space explorer, but nothing had ever felt quite like this. He had come for water, a simple need that most beings could understand. But now he was being offered something far more complicated. "I don't need anything more," John said, though his voice wavered slightly. "I just need water." The alien didn't seem offended. Instead, it tilted its head, its many eyes focusing on him with an almost knowing look. You think you only need water. But you're kind. You are always searching for more. More than just survival. More than just existence. You do not even understand your own potential, do you? Jon's heart began to race. He felt a strange sense of urgency, a push to take the vial. His body screamed for water. But now, there was this other thing. Something more. He had no idea what it was, but for the first time in a long time, he felt as though the answer to everything he had ever wondered about the universe was within his reach. With one final glance at the glowing vial, Jon made his decision. "I'll take it," he said, his voice firm now, despite the questions swirling in his mind. The alien's eyes gleamed with approval as it slid the vial toward him. "You will never be the same again, human. This is only the beginning." Jon didn't know what he was getting into, but he didn't care. He had made his choice, and now he would find out just how far humanity could go. Jon stood frozen for a moment, the glowing vial in his hand. The liquid inside was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a deep, swirling blue, but it seemed to shift and change in the light, almost as if it had a life of its own. His heart pounded in his chest, and for a moment he wondered if he had made a huge mistake. Was he really about to drink something from a strange alien on a foreign planet? It felt like a bad idea. But then, the thirst gnawed at him again, sharp and painful, reminding him of how desperate he was. He could feel his body burning from dehydration. His mouth was dry, his lips cracked, and his throat felt like it was closing in. He needed something, anything, to quench the unbearable thirst. He had come for water, but now, this strange alien was offering him something far more mysterious, something that felt like it could change everything. The alien cashier, watching him closely, didn't speak for a moment. Its many eyes blinked slowly, as though it was studying him, reading his thoughts. It seemed calm, almost knowing. Its body hummed softly, and Jon could feel the vibrations in the air, like the whole place was alive with a strange, unseen energy. Finally, the alien spoke again, its voice coming directly into Jon's mind. "You think you need water, but your people, humans, have always wanted more. You do not even realize the depth of your own potential, do you?" Jon shook his head, trying to make sense of what the alien was saying. The words echoed in his mind, repeating themselves as if the universe itself were trying to tell him something. His mind was racing with thoughts of his family, Earth, and the long journey he had taken to get here. Was this truly something he should trust? Could he really accept whatever this alien was offering? I don't understand," Jon said aloud, his voice barely above a whisper. "I just need water. I'm not looking for anything else." The alien's many eyes glowed softly, like distant stars coming to life. It didn't seem angry or impatient. In fact, it almost looked amused, as if it knew exactly what Jon was going through. "You are thirsty. Yes, I know. But the truth is, what I offer is not just about quenching your body's needs. It is about unlocking something greater, the potential that is hidden within you and your species." Jon took a deep breath. This was ridiculous. He had seen strange things in his travels, but this was different. Something about the alien's words struck a chord inside him. He couldn't explain it, but he felt like there was truth in what it was saying. Humans had always been driven by curiosity, by the desire to push beyond their limits, to explore new worlds, and to do things that no one else had done. Maybe this, whatever this was the next step for them. "You mean to say that you've been watching humans?" Jon asked slowly, still unsure if he believed what he was hearing. "You know what we are capable of." "Yes," the alien replied. "For centuries, we have watched your kind struggle and survive. You have faced many challenges, yet you keep pushing forward, growing, evolving. You humans are unlike any other species in the galaxy. Most races, beings of far greater age and power, stay content with what they have. They do not desire change, But you, human, you want to reach beyond what is known. Your species is capable of greatness, if you can control it. Jon's brow furrowed. Control it? What do you mean? The alien's voice became softer, almost as if it were speaking directly to his soul. This power, this gift, it can open doors for you, but be warned, human, it is not just about gaining strength or wisdom. It is about understanding. With this, you will see things you were never meant to see. You will be able to do things that others cannot. But it is not without its consequences. Jon felt a chill run down his spine. The alien was being so cryptic, so mysterious. Yet there was something oddly calming about its words, as if they were meant to guide him through a choice that would shape his future. Are you saying this is some kind of test? Jon asked, glancing at the vial once again. His hand trembled slightly as he held it, but his curiosity was stronger than his doubt now. The alien's eyes softened. Not a test, human. A choice. You may choose to drink the water, and your thirst will be gone, or you may take this gift, and with it you will change. It is your decision. Jon stared at the vial for a long time, his mind racing. Could this be real? Could one drop of whatever was in that vial really change everything? What would it mean for him, for Earth, for humanity? The possibilities seemed endless, and yet so terrifying. What if the alien was telling the truth? What if humans had the potential to do something no one else in the galaxy could? He glanced up at the alien, who was still watching him, waiting for his answer. There was no rush in its expression, no impatience, only a quiet understanding that made Jon feel like he was not alone in this decision. You said that humanity has potential, Jon said, his voice steadying. What do you mean by that? What do you see in us? The alien's eyes shimmered as it replied. You are not bound by the limitations that hold others back. Other species follow their instincts, live their lives as they always have. But you, humans, you are driven by something more. The hunger to learn, to adapt, to grow. It is your nature to reach for the stars, to defy what is possible, to create, destroy, and rebuild. You are capable of both the highest good and the greatest destruction. That is why I offer you this gift, to help you see that power. Jon took another deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. The thirst was still there, clawing at his throat, but now he had a choice. His eyes flicked down to the vial once more, and the strange, swirling liquid seemed to call to him. He could feel the pull now stronger than ever. This was his moment. The future of humanity could rest on what he chose. Would he stay with the known, the safe, the simple, or would he dare to take that first step into the unknown? His hand moved slowly, almost as if it had a mind of its own, and he reached out to take the vial. It was time to see what was on the other side. Jon held the vial in his hand, the glowing liquid inside almost seeming to pulse with life. His heart was racing as he stared at it, the weight of his decision pressing on his mind. He had come for water, something simple to quench his thirst. But now, standing in front of this strange alien, he was faced with something far bigger, something that could change everything. He looked up at the alien cashier, whose many eyes were watching him intently, its expression unreadable. For a moment, Jon wondered if he had made a mistake. But then the thirst returned, a deep, gnawing sensation in his throat that reminded him of the urgency of his need. His body was telling him to drink. His mind, however, was still wrestling with the consequences of this strange decision. The alien's words echoed in his head. You will see the world differently. You will understand. With a deep breath, Jon uncorked the vial. The moment the cap came off, the liquid inside seemed to hum, almost vibrating in the air. He hesitated for only a moment before tipping the vial to his lips. The liquid was cool, but not in the way he expected. It was almost like drinking pure energy, a force that seemed to course through his body as soon as it touched his tongue. The change was immediate. At first, there was nothing, just the simple taste of water, refreshing and soothing. But then, A strange sensation filled his body. A warmth spread from his chest outward, and he felt a sudden clarity, as if the fog in his mind had been lifted. He took a step back, his head spinning for a moment, as though the world was shifting around him. And then it hit him. Everything seemed to sharpen. The marketplace, with its many bustling creatures, became crystal clear. He could hear the smallest whispers of conversation from across the market, the faint hum of the machines and vehicles around him. He could feel the pulse of the planet beneath his feet, the vibrations traveling up through his legs. Jon blinked in surprise, his senses overwhelmed. It was as though his entire perception of reality had changed in an instant. He looked at the alien behind the counter, who had been silent, waiting for this moment. The alien's expression was still unreadable, but Jon could sense something deeper, a knowing, a recognition of the power that had just been unlocked. The alien spoke, its voice a soft hum in Jon's mind. "Do you feel it now, human? Do you understand?" Jon nodded slowly, though he wasn't entirely sure what he understood. It was like a new awareness had flooded his mind, a sense of connection to everything around him. His mind felt expanded, as though he could reach out and touch the very fabric of the universe. He could see patterns in the movements of people and aliens around him, their actions seeming to follow invisible threads that connected them all. It was both beautiful and overwhelming. But with this new awareness came something else. It wasn't just the marketplace he could see with clarity. It was the world itself. The distant stars, the shifting of planets, the endless possibilities that stretched out before him. He could feel the history of his own species, all the struggles and triumphs, the hopes and failures that had shaped humanity. Jon closed his eyes for a moment, trying to center himself. He had always known that humans were capable of great things, but now he understood what the alien meant. Humans weren't just survivors. They were builders, explorers, creators. They were constantly pushing the limits of what was possible, seeking new frontiers, new answers. He had always wondered what made humans so different from the other species he encountered in his travels. But now he saw it clearly. Humans had an unrelenting drive, a hunger for knowledge and progress that no other race in the galaxy seemed to share. It was this drive, this endless pursuit of greatness, that made humanity so unique. The alien's voice returned, softer this time. "Do you see now, Jon Monroe? Do you see what your species is capable of?" Jon nodded again, his mind racing. This wasn't just about surviving or getting by. This was about reaching for something greater. His people, humanity, were capable of shaping their own destiny. They could rise to heights no one had ever dreamed of, if they could harness this potential. He thought about Earth, about his friends and family back home. They were struggling, just like everyone else. But now, he knew that humanity had the potential to break free from those struggles. If he could help them understand what he had just experienced, if he could share this gift, they could change everything. They could build a new future. But as the thoughts swirled in his mind, a nagging doubt began to grow. What would happen if humans couldn't control this power? He had seen the way other species had fallen, their rise to power ultimately leading to their destruction. The alien had warned him. The gift could be a blessing, but it could also be a curse. The temptation to push further, to reach even higher, could lead humanity down a dangerous path. Jon looked at the alien again, the weight of the decision still heavy on his shoulders. He knew that sharing this knowledge with humanity wouldn't be simple. It wouldn't be easy. But he also knew one thing for sure. He couldn't go back. The path was set now. He had felt the power, understood its potential. There was no turning back from that. The alien seemed to sense his thoughts, its many eyes gleaming in the dim light. "You are changed, human," it said softly. "You will not be the same again. But you must decide how to use this power. It is in your hands now." Jon nodded slowly, his mind still racing, but he felt a new sense of determination. He could feel the weight of his people's future pressing on him, but he was ready to lead them into the unknown, to help them realize their true potential. But one question lingered in his mind. Could humanity truly control such power, or would it destroy them? Jons stood still in the bustling marketplace, the weight of what he had just experienced pressing down on him. The world around him had changed. He could hear the smallest sounds, the faintest whispers of conversations, and feel the rhythm of the planet itself pulsing beneath his feet. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. What had he just unlocked? The power that flowed through him now was more than just awareness. It was knowledge. He could understand things that were once beyond his comprehension. He could feel the energy of the universe itself, the connections between all things, but he wasn't sure what to do with it. The alien behind the counter was watching him closely, its many eyes reflecting the soft glow of the marketplace lights. John could feel its gaze on him, but it wasn't judging him. It was waiting, as if it knew something he didn't yet understand. It had warned him that this power came with consequences. John wasn't sure what those consequences would be, but the feeling of power coursing through him was undeniable. "Are you ready for what comes next?" the alien asked, its voice calm but heavy with meaning. The words echoed in John's mind, sending a shiver down his spine. It seemed like the alien knew more about his future than he did. John swallowed, his throat still dry, though no longer from thirst. The liquid from the vial had quenched his immediate need, but now his mind was thirsting for answers. What was this gift he had been given? Why was he the one chosen? And most importantly, what would it mean for the future of humanity? "I don't know if I'm ready," John admitted, his voice quiet but firm. He wasn't sure what he had expected. Maybe to feel elated, to feel empowered. But instead, he felt uncertain. The weight of the decision was heavy on his shoulders. Humanity wasn't ready for something like this. Could they handle it? The alien's eyes shimmered in response, as though it understood his hesitation. "You think you are the only one to feel the burden of choice," it said. "Many before you have faced this, but none have been as ready as you. You are human. You are more than what you know. It is not your kind's fault that you have yet to realize your true potential. But now you are ready." John closed his eyes, trying to steady his racing thoughts. He felt the alien's words in his chest. There was a truth to them, something that resonated deep within him. He had always known that humanity was capable of more, that they were capable of greatness. But this was different. This was more than ambition. This was something that could alter the very course of human history. But then another thought crossed his mind. What if this power destroyed humanity instead of elevating them? His heart beat faster as the alien's words returned to him. "You are capable of both the highest good and the greatest destruction." The alien didn't answer him directly, but its voice echoed in his mind once more. "You are not alone in this, John Monroe. Your people are already aware. They may not know it, but they are close. The power you feel now, the knowledge you possess, it has always been within your kind. You have merely been blind to it." John opened his eyes slowly. The weight of those words settled into his mind like a heavy stone. "Humanity has always had this potential," the alien said. "But how many people were ready for it? How many were truly prepared to use it wisely?" He thought about Earth. He thought about the wars, the environmental crisis, the way humans had often turned on each other. History was filled with conflict and division. Humanity was still learning how to use its own power without destroying itself. Could they control this new, unimaginable strength? Or would this gift, the one that had been given to him, be the catalyst for their downfall? He stared at the alien in front of him, searching for some kind of reassurance. The alien, however, said nothing more. It only watched him with those many eyes, waiting for John to make his decision. John's hands trembled slightly as he looked down at the glowing vial in his palm. The liquid inside it was almost gone, but it had already done its work. The power was already inside him. There was no turning back now. He thought about the future. Could humanity be led to greatness? Could they change? He wanted to believe that they could. He wanted to believe that this gift, this power, could be the spark for something amazing, something that could elevate the entire human race to new heights. But what if they failed? What if this gift was too much for them to handle? Jon took a deep breath. It wasn't just his choice anymore. If humanity were to change, to rise above the struggles they had always faced, it wouldn't be something that happened overnight. It would take time. It would take leadership. It would take the right people, the right vision. But more than that, it would take understanding. Humanity had to be ready to see the world in a different way, to understand the power within them, and how to use it without falling victim to its dangers. I have to tell them, Jon said aloud, more to himself than to the alien. I have to make them see. The alien's eyes gleamed as it tilted its head slightly, as though approving of his decision. You are wise, human, it said softly. But remember, you cannot control the choices of others. You can only show them the path. It is up to them to walk it. Jon nodded, feeling the weight of its words. The future of humanity was no longer in his hands alone, but he had to try. He had to give them the chance to understand, to grow, to become the species he knew they could be. The alien seemed to sense his resolve. You are ready, it said, its voice almost a whisper now. But be warned, human. The journey ahead will not be easy. The power within you is vast, but it is not without its price. Jon looked down at the vial, now empty in his hand. He felt the weight of what lay ahead, but he also felt something else, a sense of purpose. The road ahead would be difficult, but humanity was capable of greatness. It was time for them to take that first step into the unknown, and Monroe would lead them there. Jon walked through the market, his footsteps strangely light, as if the ground itself was responding to the newfound energy pulsing through him. His senses were on high alert. He could feel the heat of the nearby suns, the rhythmic movements of the alien vendors, and the deep hum of technology that powered the whole place. The world had never seemed so alive. Yet, despite the overwhelming clarity in his mind, a feeling of unease lingered. The alien's warning echoed in his thoughts. The power within you is vast, but it is not without its price. He didn't know what that price would be, but the sensation of power in his veins made him feel both alive and afraid at the same time. He had always known that humans were capable of greatness, but could they truly handle such a gift? He had to get back to Earth. He had to share this with humanity. But how could he explain it? He barely understood it himself. He made his way to the shipport, the large complex where ships from all over the galaxy docked. His ship was waiting, but something felt different now. It was as if the whole universe had shifted, and his role in it had changed forever. There was a part of him that was excited, ready to return to Earth and share what he had learned. But another part of him, deep inside, was scared. What if humans weren't ready? What if they destroyed themselves with the very thing that could help them? He stopped for a moment, staring out into the vastness of space, his eyes tracing the stars. He thought of his family back home, his friends, and everyone on Earth. He had always believed in humanity's potential, but now he knew they had a long way to go. The journey ahead was uncertain. There were so many questions, but the answers were out there. They had always been out there. As he boarded the ship, he sent a final glance back toward the marketplace. The alien was still there, its many eyes watching him, waiting, almost like it knew what was coming next. The journey back to Earth felt longer than it had any right to. Jon could feel the weight of the power inside him, gnawing at the edges of his consciousness. It was like a constant hum in the background, always there, always reminding him of the responsibility he now carried. He had unlocked something vast, something beyond anything humans had ever imagined. But the alien had warned him. The power wasn't without its cost. What would the cost be? As the ship entered Earth's orbit, the familiar blue and green of the planet below him made his heart race. He could already sense the world below, the people, their lives, their struggles, and their dreams. For the first time, he could feel the connection between them all. Every person, every community, every tiny moment in the history of Earth. It was all connected, and he could see it now, as clearly as he saw the stars. John stood before the communications console on the ship, his fingers hovering above the buttons. He had made his decision. He would share the knowledge. He would tell humanity about the potential within them. But where would he start? Who would listen? Would they believe him? His thoughts were interrupted by a soft beep from the console. It was a message coming through from Earth. His family. John quickly tapped the button, his heart pounding in his chest. The screen flickered to life, revealing the faces of his mother and father. They looked older than he remembered, but their eyes were filled with the same warmth. They had been waiting for his return. "John, we've been so worried," his mother's voice crackled through the speaker. "Where are you? What happened? Is everything okay?" He stared at the screen for a moment. The words stuck in his throat. How could he explain everything to them? How could he tell them what he had learned without sounding crazy? He had always wanted to be the one to make them proud, but this was something different. It was beyond anything they could understand. "I'm okay, Mom. I'm better than okay," John said, his voice shaking a little. "But there's something I need to tell you. Something big. Something that could change everything." His parents looked at each other, their faces a mix of concern and curiosity. "What is it, son?" his father asked. "What's going on? Are you coming home?" John nodded. "Yes, I'm coming home. But when I get there, we need to talk. I can't explain everything over a video call. But trust me, this is something you need to hear. It's not just about me. It's about all of us. Humanity." His mother frowned, her eyes searching his face. "John, what happened? Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm safe," John reassured her. "But the truth is, I've learned something. Something that will change the course of human history. And I need you to be ready to listen. You and everyone else." He could see the worry in their eyes, but there was something else there too. A glimmer of hope. They didn't know what he was talking about, but they could tell it was important. "We'll be here, son," his father said. "We'll be waiting for you." John took a deep breath. This was it. He wasn't just coming back with a story about alien life or distant planets. He was coming back with something far more important. He was coming back with the key to humanity's next step. But as he closed the communication, he couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part was still to come. What if they didn't believe him? What if they weren't ready? Could humanity handle the truth? Could they control the power he had unlocked? The ship entered Earth's atmosphere, the familiar landscape growing closer with each passing second. He wasn't sure what would happen when he landed, but he knew one thing for certain. His journey was far from over. The real challenge had just begun. John's feet touched the familiar ground of Earth once again, the dirt beneath him feeling strangely foreign. After months away, the planet now seemed both the same and entirely different. The vastness of space had made everything feel distant. But now, as he walked towards the exit of the spaceport, he realized how much had changed within him. He hadn't told anyone yet. His family, who had been waiting for him, still didn't know what he had learned. And as John stepped out into the bright daylight, the weight of the responsibility he carried seemed to grow heavier. The power, the knowledge, it was all inside him now. And it burned like a fire he could barely control. Could humanity truly handle it? Could they use it wisely, or would it destroy them? John couldn't ignore the growing voice inside him urging him to act quickly. He needed to speak to the right people, those who could help him share this knowledge with the world. But how would he even begin? How could he explain what he had experienced? He had felt the alien's words deep in his soul. You cannot control the choices of others. You can only show them the path. But even showing them the path wasn't going to be easy. He met his parents outside the spaceport. They were waiting with hopeful smiles, but John could see the concern in their eyes. They hadn't seen him in so long, and all they wanted was for him to be safe. "John, you're back," his mother exclaimed, her arms outstretched as she rushed forward. His father stood behind her, equally relieved, but with a quieter, more serious expression. "Son, we've missed you. Are you all right? What happened out there?" John smiled faintly. "I'm fine. I'm more than fine. But there's something I need to tell you both. Something important." His voice faltered, and his mind raced. How could he explain what he had learned without sounding insane? His mother looked at him, sensing the hesitation in his voice. "What is it, John? What happened out there?" John took a deep breath, steadying himself. He had spent so much time thinking about how to approach this moment. The truth was, there was no easy way to explain it. But if anyone would understand, it was his parents. "You won't believe me at first," he started, looking into their eyes. "But everything I thought I knew about humanity, about the world, it's wrong. We have a power inside us, one we've never understood, and I've unlocked it." His parents exchanged uneasy glances. His mother's brow furrowed. "What do you mean, unlocked it?" "John, this sounds crazy. What are you talking about?" "I know it's hard to understand," John said, his voice quiet but intense. "But I've experienced it. I've felt it. It's like seeing the world for the first time, feeling the connections between everything. The potential we have as a species is unlike anything we ever imagined. We can change everything. We can build a future that's beyond anything we've ever dreamed of." His father shook his head slowly. "I don't know, son. This doesn't sound right. We've seen people claim things like this before, and it never ends well." John felt his stomach tighten. "I know. I understand your doubts. But this isn't a fantasy. It's real. And we have to decide what to do with it. Humanity can rise above the mistakes of the past. We can reach new heights, but we need to do it carefully." His mother's expression softened, though she was still concerned. "But what if we don't know how to use this power? What if it destroys us instead of helping us?" John looked at her with a deep sense of resolve. "That's what I'm afraid of. But I'm not alone in this. I've seen it. There are others, people who can help us. But we have to be careful. We need to start now, before it's too late." His father placed a hand on his shoulder, a sign of support, but also of caution. "If this is true, John, it's bigger than anything we've ever faced. The whole world would need to know. But we can't just tell everyone and hope for the best. We'll need a plan." John nodded. "That's exactly what I'm thinking. We can't just rush into this. But the world isn't ready for what I'm about to share. I have to find the right people. We need leaders, thinkers, scientists, people who can help us understand this power and how to use it." His mother looked at him with a mixture of concern and hope. "Are you sure about this? Are you sure this is what's best for everyone?" John nodded, his gaze steady. "I have to believe it's worth it. Because if we don't act now, if we don't change things, we might lose our chance forever." John spent the next few days preparing. He spoke to a few trusted friends and colleagues, scientists, experts, people who had always believed in pushing the boundaries of what was possible. But even as he gathered them together, doubts began to creep into his mind. Would they believe him? Would they be willing to take a leap of faith and trust that humanity could control this newfound power? As he met with each person, explaining the knowledge he had unlocked, he could see the skepticism in their eyes. They had heard similar stories before, people who claimed to have discovered something that would change the world, only for it to end in disaster. But John wasn't giving up. He knew that the key to unlocking humanity's true potential was within their reach. He just had to help them see it. And so, the preparations continued. John made plans to gather more people, more experts, people who could help him find the way forward. But the clock was ticking. Every moment that passed felt like a step closer to the unknown. Could humanity be ready to embrace what he had learned? Or was the cost of this power too great for anyone to truly control? One thing was clear. John couldn't turn back now. The path ahead would be difficult, dangerous even. But it was the only path forward. And he would walk it, no matter what. The days blurred together as John continued his mission. The world was beginning to wake up to the possibility he had unlocked, but every step forward seemed to be met with uncertainty and fear. He had gathered a small team of scientists, philosophers, and leaders, people who had seen the potential in his words, but still, the question lingered in the air. Could humanity handle this power? John stood at the edge of a vast field, looking out over the horizon. The earth beneath his feet felt solid and real, but his mind was elsewhere, caught between the weight of what he had discovered and the fear of what might happen if humanity wasn't ready. The alien's warning was always in the back of his mind. The power within you is vast, but it is not without its price. He had made it this far, but now, as the world began to turn its eyes toward him, the pressure was overwhelming. Could he lead them into a future of hope? Or would this gift, this power, destroy them all? His phone buzzed in his pocket, pulling him from his thoughts. It was a message from Dr. Elaine Harris, one of the most respected scientists on his team. She had been skeptical at first, but after seeing the truth for herself, she had become one of his strongest allies. Her message was brief but urgent. "John, we need to talk. It's time." John's heart raced. This was it. He had known this moment would come, the moment when they would have to decide. Was humanity ready? Was he ready? He quickly made his way to the lab where his team was meeting. The building was quiet when he entered, but he could feel the tension in the air. Everyone was waiting for him. "John, we've been running simulations," Dr. Harris began, her voice steady but filled with concern. "And the results are troubling." John's stomach sank. "What do you mean?" "The data we gathered shows that the power you've unlocked isn't just a tool. It's a force that could change the very fabric of reality itself. And if we aren't careful, it could unravel everything." John felt a chill run down his spine. He had known there was risk, but hearing it from someone else made it all too real. The power inside him wasn't just a gift. It was a responsibility, and one he didn't fully understand yet. "Is it too late?" John asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Can we stop it if it's too dangerous?" Dr. Harris shook her head. "I don't know. We don't fully understand how this works. The simulations show that if we push too hard, too fast, we could break the balance of the world. We could bring about a collapse. But if we wait too long, the power will fade, and we'll never know what could have been." John paced across the room, his mind racing. The choice was so clear, yet so unclear at the same time. Push forward and risk everything, or hold back and never see the potential fulfilled. "We can't afford to wait," he said finally, turning to face his team. "Humanity deserves to see what we can become. We have the power to fix the mistakes of the past. We can heal the planet, end conflict, and unlock the potential within every person." Elaine's eyes were full of doubt. "And if it all goes wrong? If we create something worse than what we already have?" John stopped in his tracks. She was right. What if this wasn't the right time? What if they weren't ready? The world was still divided, still struggling with its own flaws. Could humanity, as it was, truly handle the power he had unlocked? Or would it tear itself apart? "I've seen the future," John said quietly. "I've felt it. We can do better, but we have to try. We can't live in fear of what might happen." The room fell silent. The weight of his words hung in the air like a thick fog. Finally, Dr. Harris spoke, her voice tinged with sadness. "You're right, John. We have to try. But know this, it won't be easy. You're asking humanity to change, to become something better. And change is never easy. We may succeed, or we may fail, but we won't know unless we take the risk." John looked around the room, seeing the mixed expressions of his team. Some were hopeful, some were terrified. But they all knew this was a turning point, a moment in history that would define everything. "We have to do this together," John said, his voice firm. "We can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. But if we work together, if we believe in each other, We can unlock a future unlike anything the world has ever seen. The decision had been made. It was time. As John stood at the front of the room, his team gathered around him. He could feel the weight of the world pressing down on him. But he also felt something else, something powerful and hopeful. The path ahead would be hard, but it was a path worth walking. The power they had unlocked was vast, but so was humanity's potential. John knew there would be struggles ahead. There would be resistance, fear, and doubt, but he also knew that humanity had something within it that no other species had, a relentless desire to grow, to overcome, and to reach for the stars. He believed in that. He believed in people. As he looked out over his team, John made a silent promise to himself. They would go forward, no matter the cost. They would show humanity the path to a brighter future, a future where they could finally become the best version of themselves. The journey had just begun, and John Monroe was ready to lead them into the unknown.